Hello YouTube, Wilful Ninja here, bringing you another nerdy video. Today's video is one of my review videos that I occasionally do, and today it is Star Wars Rebels. I just saw the final episode of Star Wars Rebels, and I wanted to talk about it while it was still fresh in my mind. I literally just saw it, came home, and here I am. Now, I'm going to say this first. I enjoyed Rebels. I enjoyed Rebels from the beginning. I enjoyed the start of it. I had some concerns, such as how they were building up certain characters. And when they announced Rebels, I was like, oh, maybe they'll finally answer the question about Ahsoka. Like, what was she doing during the time of the Empire? Because she walked away from the Jedi. She was exiled, and she wasn't with any clones at the time. So did she got killed? Did she die off screen, or did she not? Oh, sorry, folks. Actually, I'm going to say this right now. From this point on, spoilers. Sorry, technically that's a spoiler from one of the seasons. But if you have not finished Star Wars Rebels, or you've been waiting for it to finish before you're watching it, I'm sorry, but this is going to be completely spoiler. Okay? Alright. So, again, they answered my questions somewhat. Somewhat answered my questions. The final episode, very good, very emotional, very dramatic. Few things I am concerned about. For one, the way... Now... how should I put it? Sorry, it was a two-part and... okay. Now, the Rebels take back Lothal very brilliantly, and for some reason the Empire never attacks Lothal at any point. I guess they were too busy with the Rebel Alliance. But we know that it's revealed that... Oh, what's her name? Oh my god, I'm after later just watching Hera, I think it was. The Twi'lek pilot. She has a child, and I'm personally hoping at some point before he died, Kanan and her... how to put it delicately? Again, the most delicate way I can put it is made love. Like, I hope that they got together at some point and she got pregnant. I hope it's... Because the epilogue was set around after episode 6, so I'm hoping, because you see her with a child, and I'm hoping that that's his child, you know. So which means there's a potential Force user out there in the galaxy by the time of the First Order and episode 9 comes about. I like the wrap up for all of them. It talks about how Rex and Hera were part of the Battle of Endor, which was already confirmed that the old man in Return of the Jedi that was with the bunker assault, the one with the white beard, and I like how they confirmed that he was actually Captain Rex, which means Rex was in that fight till the bitter end. I like it. I love it. I like what they did with Zeb. I don't know why he wasn't part of the battle, but again, maybe he took a very long route to the planet. I like his epilogue, and I like the redemption of the captain, that the guy that was chasing them for so many seasons. I like how their bond, it started off as rivals, he was trying to capture him, he was trying to get revenge for his people. I like how, but then certain things were discovered, and again, I liked how they sort of built up a friendship, especially after they spent some time, stranded together, and they had to work together to survive. I liked that development, and I'm glad it flourished into such a redeemable moment for the character. Now, I won't talk about Ahsoka or Ren yet, because I need to talk about Ezra. Now, after Kanan's death, I like how he learns about letting go. you know. And I like the moment where he's in like this doorway of the Jedi temple, of this Jedi temple that was brought from the Lothal Jedi temple, and the Emperor was trying to influence Ezra to go back in time, and save his parents, which would have worked in the Emperor's favor. The Emperor, because if Ezra went back in time, it would not have affected the Emperor's plans at all. The Emperor was still collecting information from all over the galaxy about the Force and about Jedi temples, and eventually they would have came to Lothal. He would have found the temple, and he would have found the door, and then potentially controlled time and space. So the Emperor's plans would have been completely unchanged if Ezra went back in time and saved his parents. It just means Ezra would not have been there. Ezra would not have given his speech, which meant it would not have lit the flame of the rebellion. Which again, a lot of rebels say his speech was a big point for them. He would not have given off that speech, and as an effect, the Rebel Alliance would have been much smaller potentially. But again, Ahsoka was still working to build the Rebel Alliance. So again, it's a little bit. It would have been smaller, but But the thing is, though, apparently his speech was a big impact. So now, Kanan probably would have still been hidden. He probably would not have revealed his Jedi potential at all. So we don't know how things would have transpired, but Ezra brought a lot to the table for the Ghost Crew, so maybe they would have actually been crushed a lot sooner. But yeah, so the Emperor's plans the Emperor would not have been affected at all. His plans would not have been affected at all due to this. And then also, eventually. Now, Ezra goes out as a hero. I was chilled about that. When Rebels started, I had a few main concerns. One, what was Ahsoka doing? Please explain when they announced that Rebels was going to be a direct sequel to Clone Wars, I was concerned that what was Ahsoka doing during episodes 3, 4, 5, and now 4, 5, and 6, as well as episode 7, 7, 8, and then also 9. Maybe they were saving her for 9, but I don't know. But again, I would have wanted to know either through a book, comic, or a TV series of what happened to her. What was she doing? Because the type of character she was, even through Clone Wars, was one of helping people. So she would have not stood back and not helped the Rebel Alliance. And she would have helped the Rebel Alliance, and she then would have trained Luke and all that. So again, this is the trouble about creating continuity. I wonder what LucasArts would have done, or Lucasfilm would have done with her, considering that Disney did not own Star Wars yet. So I don't know what they had planned for her. I would be interested in finding out what they had planned for her. But so far, I'm a little questioning about what Disney did, and I'll get back to that. Because as we all know, she shows up in Rebels. She eventually fights Darth Vader. But it looks like she's still. It's revealed she's still alive. The last time we see her, she's limping into this dark corridor into a cave, and then that's where we don't find out what happens to her. And so I was like, okay, so you're telling me she spent all this time on that planet? No, apparently that's not the case. Apparently the reason why she was able to survive was because of Ezra. Ezra finds the temple. He finds this doorway that connects to these different pathways throughout the time and space. Strangely enough, he conveniently finds doorways to particular moments that are significant to him. I guess it probably depends on the person, But he pulls Ahsoka out of when she was fighting Vader. She was about to pull a kamikaze, kill her and Vader. She doesn't, because Ezra pulls her into this place between space and time. And, he tries to save Kanan, and she explains to him, no, don't, because she basically explains to him, maybe this is not what Kanan wants. Think about it. He thinks about it, and then at this point, the Emperor shows up, with like he's performing some sort of like Sith ritual, and he's talking to them. He can't enter the place, but he's able to talk to them, and he starts sending out like forced fire to try and capture them. They eventually split up. She goes back through the portal she came out from. We're assuming that it's not a fixed point in time. Like, time was still going on, so she jumped out after Vader left. And she then crawled away into that cave, where she was presumably recovering. I don't know what she was doing for 2 years, from in between that episode and to now. Ezra jumps back, exits to his current timeline. And he shuts the portal, destroying the temple, and the Emperor, they already took away the doorway of the temple, and I don't know why, but for some reason this temple, the doorway could have still worked again, it was 2 separate portals, but before Ezra opened the portal, the Empire already took the doorway from the temple. There were 2 different doorways. One was a portal, the other was a doorway. The Emperor took it, and for some reason, this doorway was able to function for time travel. I don't know if that was exactly what the Emperor had planned. Maybe there was some other secret to the temple that the Emperor was trying to trigger with the doorway. I don't know, but something was going on. Ezra resists at this point during when he was captured by Thrawn. He escapes the Emperor's plans. The Emperor sends in some royal guards. They were the guys in the red armor. My issue here was, from my understanding of the old expanded universe, the Red Guards were the adults of the children that the Emperor took. They're the Force sensitive children that he captured. Now, a lot of the time these were meant also for Inquisitors, but they were also tied into the Emperor's hand. His assassins as well as his royal guard. But these guys were not force sensitive. They had staffs that could mimic force pull and force push. Like, they were able to hold Ezra up in the air, but then he used the ruins of the doorway to knock them out of his way. Ezra had a backup plan. When he went onto he was captured because Thrawn interrupted their plans. I'm not going to go into full detail. Thrawn interrupts their plans, and he demands that Ezra come alone on a ship. So Ezra flies up, and he takes a single shuttle and goes up to Thrawn's Star Destroyer, and that's when he had an audience with the Emperor. The Emperor was by hologram, by the way, and then that's where the whole doorway comes into play. But Ezra I don't know if Ezra knew if he was going to have to go on board the Star Destroyer. I don't know if he knew. I'm guessing he did because he talked in previous episodes that he had a vision for his plan. His plan was revolved around his vision. So I'm guessing he did. So he had a suicide mission. He gave someone secret orders, which they then arrived with a ghost ship, and they arrived with the whales that could go into the hyperspace. Remember, Ezra saved some of them because they were feeding on the fuel for ships, and it turns out these guys can naturally go through hyperspace lanes. They actually have natural hyperdrive. A whole bunch of them come out, and they start attacking the Empire ships and the Star Destroyers. Now, clearly, Ezra has some sort of influence with them. Maybe he left like a telepathic message to his friend, who then, as he got there, these whales was able to read the guy's mind. They knew exactly what was going on, so they all arrived. But anyway, a whole flock of them came about, massive ones. There was three of them pulled the Star Destroyer. They start going like all Kraken-y on the Star Destroyer, with their tentacles going in through the windows. It was actually pretty stunning. It was a nice moment. Ezra gets shot in the back of the shoulder. He's using the force. He's using the force to keep the doors to the bridge closed, he's using the force to keep Thrawn still as the tentacles wrap around him. Thrawn's like, whatever happens to me is going to happen to you. And Ezra is like, I know. And he then says, he says, it's up to you, Ren. He says his final goodbyes, and he says, it's up to you, Ren. Here's my issue. He believes it's a suicide run. If he believes it's a suicide run, he's going to die, there's no way he can survive this, then why does he not tell her how he feels? They've been building up to that. Like, it was hinted at throughout the entire series that he loves Ren, but he doesn't say anything. Like, he even leaves a hollow recording message about them saying how Zeb has the top bunk back. He left the Hera's favorite fruit in her thing, and like, oh my god, and he doesn't say why. Oh my god, it's so annoying. Like, that would have been a nice. That would have been so nice to have. Like, it would have been a nice moment to have. But anyway, the way he goes out is all the creatures begin glowing, and Hera's like, "Oh my god, what the hell, Ezra? When they glow, you're going to go into hyperspace. Get out of there." He's like, "I can't." And then that's when he says, "It's up to you, Ren." And he gives them like one final message, and the last thing he says is, "May the Force be with you." And then, boom, the creatures drag the Star Destroyer off into hyperspace. We have no idea where they're going. Now again, these creatures can travel on routes that are completely unknown to the Galactic Republic or Empire, whoever. They're traveling routes completely unknown, so they can wind up anywhere. So the epilogue happens. After that, Ren is narrating it. We see Ahsoka show up. I'm like, where the fuck were you for the 2 years? You know, for the past 2 years, like, where the hell was she? Why wasn't she? Now, I knew she had knowledge of time travel, so I think in order to assure that she would survive, I'm giving the writers a lot of credit. Okay, this is me giving them extra credit than they probably deserve. If they did not plan this out, then if this is not their reason for explaining why she did not help the Rebel Alliance or why she did not go and help Ezra. For the sake of maintaining the timeline, so that she would make sure she could survive. Because if she influenced the timeline over those next 2 years, she could have stopped Ezra going to the temple, finding the portal, and then saving her. So it would have created a paradox. So maybe that's why. My friend has a theory that maybe she was getting ready, she was doing research. She seems a lot wiser now. She showed up with a staff, and all that. So I don't know. Maybe. I hope they explain more about her. But Ren, we're back at anyway. We're back in this like tower that we first saw Ezra. She did a spray paint of Ezra and the Ghost Crew and 2 wolves and the Lowcat and all that. And she says, "I know he's still alive." Which means Tron's still alive. Again, if they kill off Tron, I can imagine loads of fans are going to be upset. But she says, "I'm going to find you." And then she looks away, puts on her helmet, and she starts walking to Ahsoka. So, now my friend told me that there's already a new TV series going to be announced called Resistance. That is either, now, because of the epilogue, saying that there's never an assault on Lothal after they kick the Empire off. That means Resistance. I have a gut feeling the Resistance is going to focus on other groups within the Rebel Alliance. Okay, so it's going to probably show us some time with Luke. You know what he was doing in between, maybe 4 and 5, or maybe 5 and 6. Or it might see more of Han or whatever. It might take place in the unseen parts of the war from episode 4 to 6. We might see that, or it might be more about the First Order and the Resistance. I feel like it's going to be more about the Resistance because it's a significant name change. Because when the First Order showed up, the rebels were disbanded and they reformed as the Resistance, being led by Leia. So that makes me think that the next cartoon series is going to be focusing around the first. It's going to be focusing more on what Disney is setting up. You know, and again, Disney's been trying to push for their own stuff rather than, continue on with telling the stories that would have happened Now they're still using comics. They're still giving off comic book rights and video game rights to other companies, which are obviously doing their own like expanded universe within the Star Wars setting of episodes, 4 to 6, and prior, with EA with Old Republic, and Bioware with Old Republic. But I feel like in terms of Disney, the actual shows and movies, I feel like they're going to push for their own stuff. So Disney is now that they're done with Rebels, they're now going to focus more on their own creation, which is the war between the Resistance, the Republic, and the First Order. Now, my friend believes that they're saving Tron for something big. Because if an off-screen death to Tron would just upset so many fans, especially since apparently just recently they released a Tron book, and the fact that there was a huge Disney got a lot of props for bringing back Tron in Rebels, and I doubt they're going to have him go away so quickly, like that. So we might see Tron back. But yeah, folks, now, after saying all this, final review out of 10 for Star Wars Rebels, I will have to say 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Out of everything I've saw of it, like all the seasons. Now again, I'm looking at it collectively. I'm not looking at it in what it could potentially. Like each individual season. This is collectively. To be honest with you, the final season was going to be make or break for me. It was, like, regardless of how good I thought of the previous seasons, a story is only as good as how the ending correlates to the middle side, the start, middle, and especially in such a big universe like Star Wars, where we have movies and things, and this is supposed to be canon with it. It's a parallel story that's happening as the time of the other stories. Continuity is important, so therefore the ending is even more crucial for television series. So with this, I'm satisfied. It's a nice explanation of why there's no Jedi, such as Kanan, Ahsoka, or Ezra helping Luke. Because Rebels ends. Forget the epilogue. The battle for the Rebels ends, like their fight ends before Rogue One. We know Hera takes part in Rogue One. We know that, but it happens before Rogue One. So therefore, it's a nice pace now towards what happens in Rogue One, what happens in Episode 4, 5, and 6. It's a nice story that they have, and it explains why Leia knew that there were other Jedi, and it explains also why she knew Obi-Wan was still alive, and it explains why her father would want to send a message to Ting, because he met Ezra and Ahsoka during Rebels. So, and she also met Ezra and Ahsoka. So she knows. That's why she has such confidence in Obi-Wan to being able to turn the tide of the war. Which is why she's putting so much energy into getting finding him, and then also delivering the Death Star plans. It's a nice story, and it's a nice addition to the new expanded universe. And again, I like how they bring back a lot of old stuff like the Mandalorian Wars. I just hope they bring back more of the original expanded universe. But again, Disney has always been a bit off with their cartoons. There's a reason why there's a running joke with comic book fans that if you're looking for a good comic book movie, watch Marvel. But if you're looking for good comic book cartoons, you watch stuff like DC, like the Justice League and all that. Because I've seen Marvel cartoons. They're good, but they often get cancelled. The only one that I knew that was for a very long running was Ultimate Spider-Man, which apparently was very popular because it also touched on the Spider-Verse, which was apparently very popular. Again, my brother watched it. I'm just going based off what I've heard and seen while babysitting them. And then the fact that it was still so long running. Whereas other shows, of theirs ended in like within 3 years. And they cancelled shows, like even shows that had great potential. So there's Earth's Mightiest Heroes, I think was one of them. But yeah, Marvel cartoons have always been a bit shaky, and again, the same goes for general cartoons in when it comes to Disney. Now they do have a few good cartoons. Like I remember there's this one about Dragon. I think it was called American Dragon. Or, no, there was something else with it. There was something else with the title. Can't remember. But anyway, this has given me some faith that if Disney are doing this whole trilogy system, where it's Clone Wars, Rebels, Resistance, then I'm looking forward to Resistance. I can honestly say I'm looking forward to Resistance. And after Last Jedi, when they decide to break away from the mold of the original trilogy, now don't get me wrong, there were still some similarities with the trilogy from there, and there are still some references to it, and that's good. But they broke the mold. Instead of going with what they did with Force Awakens, which was too close to A New Hope, they decided to change it up and do something completely new. They took some bold steps, such as having Luke become one with the Force. He did not die. He became one with the Force. There's a difference, and that was a bold move. And the fact that his Force Ghost was actually even able to make physical, like he was able to do so much, that's impressive. And I'm glad they brought back the Mortis gods. I'm curious of whether or not they're going to bring back the Mother, because she was the most powerful Force being in the galaxy. Like it takes the father, the son, and the daughter to hold her back, you know, and she was one of the biggest threats that the galaxy has ever faced. So I wonder if they're going to bring her back. Maybe they will bring her back in Resistance when it comes to Ezra and whatnot. Now, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Ezra, especially with Episode 9. I hope they do something. I hope they don't just leave it. Because Ezra should be in a prime fighting condition, as opposed to Luke, you know. So they can cast like a much younger male experienced Jedi, you know. So maybe someone to teach Ren. Rey. Maybe Ezra takes up Rey's training. You know, that would be cool, and I'm sure a lot of Star Wars Rebels fans would enjoy it. And maybe Ahsoka also comes in. But yeah, the only question now is, where has Ren and Ahsoka gone? Because the way Ahsoka's character is written and she is portrayed throughout this entire series, even again, I'm going back to Clone Wars as well, she would have helped the Resistance against the First Order, you know, especially if she heard about Anakin coming back, redeeming himself before he died. So I feel like she would have made some sort of appearance in or had some sort of reference in Force Awakens and thing. But who knows? We'll find out. Maybe Resistance will explain that. Maybe a comic will explain it. Maybe I'm hoping that they explain it at some point. But I do feel like because they made a significant point to show Rey and Ahsoka teaming up to go find Ezra, Disney has big plans for him. And I hope they make good on that ending. So yeah, folks, 8 out of 10. I highly recommend you just watch it. It is a great story. There are a lot of fun and interesting characters. Lots of references to Clone Wars and the movies. I highly recommend you just watch it from the beginning. So yeah, the ending was good. Could have been better. I would have gone with the fan theory of something happens to Ren. Ezra falls from grace. He ends up forming the Knights of Ren, and something like that. I would have done something more along those lines. So yeah, now I'm even more curious about the Knights of Ren. Who are they? How did they get their name? Hey, maybe something happened to Ezra going through hyperspace, because those windows were shattered. The windows of the Star Destroyer were completely shattered, and those things dragged him through hyperspace. Maybe something happened to him. Maybe. You know, maybe he goes crazy and the only name he remembers is Ren. And then Snook finds him, and then he then forms the Knights of Ren because it's a name that's just in his mind. So maybe we might see Ezra, working for Snoke. He might have been part of the First Order, and we might see him in episode 9, with the rest of the Knights. So who knows? That would be cool for me, because again, going through hyperspace without any type of protection should mess up someone's mind, in my opinion. But anyway, this is Wilf Ninja signing out. May the Force be with you, and remember, roll for initiative.